In this activity, you've been asked to create a program which will ask the user questions and store the user's name, age, and the current year. It should then ask the user for a year in the future and predict this user's age in that year. So the first thing, we know we're looking to collect information off the user, so we're going to have to obviously use the input function. So the first one that we want is going to be name. So I'm going to say name is equal to input brackets, and we're going to have a string saying what is your name. So this question is going to appear on the screen, and it's going to assign the user's response to the variable name. Then I'm going to ask current underscore age is equal to, again, input what is your age, and finally current year is equal to input comma what year is it, and some question marks. So now we've created three variables, and the user is going to input their name, their age, and their current year, and they're all going to be stored under these variables: name, current age, current year. What we're going to do now is just do a simple print statement to print that out. Print a message saying hello, end string, comma. I'm going to put a space in here just so there's a space in the actual print message. Print name, comma, you are. I'm going to put a space before you just so it's spaced out from the name as well. You are, end string, comma. I then want to insert the current age, so I'm going to use the current underscore age, comma. Need a space in here so it's neat on the screen. I'm going to say hello, name, you are, current age, comma, another string saying space, years old, and the year is, comma, and then we're going to plug in the value for current underscore year. Close my brackets. So simple enough so far. Three input statements, three variables called name, current age, current year. It's going to ask the user some questions and store that information under these three variables, then finally hopefully print them out. So let's run that and see if it works. So I'm going to say 32 2015, and you can see that's working fine. It's saying hello Mr. Callan, you are 32 years old and the year is 2015. The next thing that you might want to do is to think about how can we actually work out the person's age in a future year. So the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to ask the user for the year that they would like to know their age in that actual year. So future year, it's going to be another variable. Again, it's going to be input because we want the user to actually type this in. What year would you like to know your future age of? Not sure that makes sense, but you get the idea. Again, that's going to be a question mark. And that's going to now store a new variable called future year. And now we need to work out how can we use this information to actually work out the person's new age in that year. So the first thing we need is another variable, and we're going to call it future age, and that's going to be equal to the current age, and that's going to be plus. Now to work this out, what we need to work out, obviously in 2015, if someone is 10, in 2025 they are going to be 20. And how that works out is basically we're going to do a sum calculation based on the current year and the future year, and we're going to start off with the future year. I'm going to take away the current year. So what it's going to do, create a new variable called future age. It's going to plug in the current age as entered by the user, and then it's going to add that to the difference between the future year and the current year. So it might take a while to get your head around how that actually works, but that is going to hopefully give us a solution. Now at the minute this is not going to run. There's an error here, so let's just F5 it and see what happens. So this all works fine so far. I want to know my age, and let's say that the year 2049. Press enter, and we are going to get a mistake, and the mistake says unsupported operand types for string and string. Basically that means we can't do a calculation on strings in this line of code. This is causing an error. Now by default, whenever the user enters something in as an input, it is automatically stored as a string. And what we need to do now is to convert these numbers that we're using, so current age, the future year and the current year. To do calculations, we have to convert these into ints. There's a few different ways we can do it. We can do it within the actual calculation down here, or we could do it at the start. For this example, I'm just going to do it in the calculation section. So I'm going to now declare that current age is an integer. That will allow us to do calculations with it. Future year is again an integer, so I'm going to use the int function, which basically converts what the user enters into an int, which is a whole number. And now that should hopefully work for us. The last thing we're going to need is a print statement. Print in the year, and again we're going to plug in the future year as entered by the user. Up here in the year, future year, comma, you will be, comma, and then we want future age, which is the one we've worked out using the calculation. Print in the year, future year, you will be future underscore age, put a space in here, comma, and then just another string saying years old, full stop, close the brackets. And what this should do now, this should hopefully work. Made a mistake there, put the space in the wrong place. So let's F5 it and see what happens. So it's going to ask me for my name, my age, the current year. I'm going to say 2084. In the year 2084, you will be 101 years old. So you can see that is working okay at the minute. It's not an ideal solution, obviously, because it doesn't ask about the month of the year, which it really should. But we're just going to assume that we're going to run the program at the same date on each year, and it's going to give us a rough estimation of our age. So a nice simple problem solving activity involving variables, input statements, a little bit of calculations down here, and the key thing to remember whenever you're asking the user to input a number or a value that you want to use to do a calculation, by default it will be stored as a string, which means that we can't actually do calculations on it. So we can do it this way, and that's worked fine. Another way that we can do it, if I just delete out the int functions, we're not going to need that, or that, or that. We are going to need that actually, and not that one. And another way we can do it, we can do it up here to say name is equal to, that's not going to be, so current age is going to be an int, and we just apply the int function to the input statement. So as soon as it comes in, it is automatically defined as an integer, and we can do the same with this. That means as soon as the user enters this data into the system, it's automatically going to be declared as an integer, which will allow us to do calculations. Obviously, I haven't done that for name because name is obviously going to be a string. We don't want to do any calculations on the person's name. So F5 that. Let's see if it worked. What year is it? 2015. Prints out the message, let's say 2043. And again, it's giving us an error. Why is this error happening? So it's the same mistake. Future age is equal to current age plus future year minus current year. So let's have a quick look at that and see if we can work out why. And the reason why, hopefully you've guessed it, is because down here we have asked the user to enter future year as an input. That is being declared as a string, and we haven't changed it anywhere down here. So we also have to add this as an integer, which will allow us to perform calculations on it. Python will know it's a number, and now if I F5 that and run it, that is hopefully going to work. It's 32, years 2015. In the year 2045, I am going to be 62 years old. So again, very simple problem. Loads of different ways we can solve it. That's just a simple idea to get you started thinking in this way. So the key points, we're declaring variables and we're asking the user to actually enter the data for the variables name, current age, and current year. We know age and year are integers, which we're going to use in a calculation later on. So in order to do this calculation, we have to actually convert them into integers, and the same with future year. So there's a few different ways we can do that. It just depends yourself which one you want to use. There's no one method better than the other, but they both do the job.